In this problem, we're asked to find all of the zeros. In other words, we're asked to solve this one for x. And we notice here with this x to the fourth power, it tells us we have up to 4 different answers on this one. And we want to find all the zeros, so the first thing we're going to do is change this from g of x, and we're going to write it so that it's equal to 0. That will help us solve it. Now, this one looks a little bit weird because it's x to the fourth power minus 10x squared plus 9. Looks a little bit complicated. It's really not that bad. If we can think of this one, you're used to factoring these. If the factoring is squared, though, if it were x squared, if it looked a little bit something more similar to this, you could factor it. It would be a piece of cake. X squared minus 10x plus 9, we'd look for two numbers that multiply together to give you 9, but add together to give you negative 10. And you could quickly identify that that is negative 9 and negative 1. And so your factors on that one would be x minus 1 and x minus 9. Well, we're going to use a similar process over here. The only difference is that this one is x to the fourth power instead of x squared. So instead of it being x minus 1, it's going to be x squared minus 1 times x squared minus 9. So it'll look like that. Now if we were to FOIL these back in, you've got x squared times x squared gives you x to the fourth. Negative 1 times negative 9 still gives you a positive 9. These still FOIL back in just fine. So anyway, okay, so now I'm going to get rid of this because this is only to illustrate that you already know how to do these. This is just something just a little bit different. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that part now. Okay, so right here we've got this one, and now that we've got it factored, you can factor these a little bit more, but I'm going to show you a different method now. Make it just a little bit easier. Now, we've got both of these, and they're equal to 0, so I'm just going to set each one of them equal to 0. I go x squared minus 1 is equal to 0. And then we've got right here. And I've also got this other one over here, which is x squared minus 9 equals 0. Okay, so I've got both of these. Now I have to solve these. And I want to get x all by itself, so I'm going to add 1 to both sides. And once I've added 1 to both sides, I simplify it. So 1 is equal to x squared. The way I get rid of my x squared is that I take the square root of both sides. So I square root both sides. And now I know that the square root of 1 would just give me plain old 1. But I know that it can either be a positive 1 or a negative 1 because it's x squared. And if we squared positive 1, it would give us 1. And if we squared negative 1, it would also give us 1. So in this case, x is equal to plus or minus 1. Now I do the same thing over here. I'm going to add 9 to both sides, then take the square root. I'm going to go ahead and just do it quickly just for time purposes. And we get plus or minus 3 over here. So x in this case, and we can have up to 4 answers. I've got 2 over here and 2 over here. X would equal plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 3.